Welcome back to my circular stock machine restoration series. As you can see from the time lapse, I've spent several hours tearing down all the components into smaller components and putting them through the ultrasonic cleaner. I used a combination of hot water and simple green in the ultrasonic cleaner. It does really well loosening up all those stuck on oil and fiber bits. What didn't come off in the ultrasonic cleaner, I was able to just brush off with a brass brush very easily. At what point I did become concerned with the heat and its effect on some of the less resilient pieces from the machine. This is the tappet plate, and during the course of cleaning I did notice just some very small fractures in some of the joints and 90-degree spots, so started to be a little bit more careful with that guy. One of the other things that the ultrasonic cleaner did well was remove some of the paint. It did not remove all of it, and we've still got to strip all of this down to its bare metal, but the ease with which some of that paint came off gives me hope. So I actually tested paint removal on one of the more obscure pieces. This is the thumb screw from the part where it joins up to the table, or you clamp it down to the table, I should say. And this went really well. This actually cleaned up very, very well. You can, if I get the right glare on it, you can see that it doesn't have any paint left on it. So, and then we got a cold snap where I live. And so it's been actually pretty cold. My garage is not heated, so I had to get a shop heater, and the temperatures have come back up a little bit today. So today's the day to get paint stripper on these remaining pieces parts that have the original factory paint and get them scrubbed clean so that we can then execute the rest of our plan, which is to come back in once it's stripped with some rust stabilizer and remover, and then from Duplicolor, I plan on a fairly simple blemish filling primer. I've chosen this blue. I like blue, so we're going with blue as a color coat, and then a top coat of this Duplicolor clear top coat. So this is all available at local auto parts stores. It's fairly well regarded in my research. It's automotive grade spray paint and should stand up to years of use and abuse of this machine. I've done some research into some of the other plans that I have, notably the handle assembly from the crank. You saw me grind off the ball-peened end from the pivot pin and free the handle, and I have a plan for how that's going to go back together and be removable in the future as well. So I'm going to make another standalone video of that. So now's a great time. If you haven't subscribed already, I'd love it if you would, and turn on those alerts so you know when that video drops, as well as the next editions of this restoration series. There were several other steps in cleaning that I didn't include in the time lapse, one of which was cleaning all of the needles and just getting an inventory of them. Turns out we have enough needles to populate the full 72 needle cylinder, which I'm very pleased with. These cleaned up nicely. I sanded them clean, and then they're actually just kind of bathing in a little bit of ballastol right now inside this bag. And then I also cleaned the weight stack, as well as straightened this rod as well as best I can. So this will also get stripped and painted as well, and then polished of this. I also purchased the stuff to polish this rod, which again is the stand that the yarn guide goes on. So a couple more steps to do, and the cast-on bonnet also got cleaned up a little bit. I was just really pleased to see just the detail in the knurling on that little thumb screw at the bottom of the cast-on bonnet. This is surprisingly in good shape after I just realigned some of those hooks. I'll straighten the rest of them up and might actually use this as our actual cast-on bonnet. We'll see. At this point, my goal for the day is to get everything stripped and get set up for painting. Well, the paint stripper had severely mixed results. We had some things, such as this rubber arm, that have some paint left on them, but are generally clean. A lot of the aluminum parts now look like this. The tappet plate is probably one of the cleanest things to come out of the process. It cleaned up very nicely, but it's the only thing that doesn't need any additional work. And then there's these guys. There's the crank arm as well as the base plate that just, the paint stripper barely touched it. I'm going to attribute this to a combination of the temperature in the shop. It's fairly cold out here, even with the shop heater, and the relative humidity. The paint stripper dried out very quickly and was cold, so it really didn't scrape up very much. Plus, just the cure time on this paint. It's been around for, I mean, decades, I'm sure. I just returned from Harbor Freight where I picked up a new blasting cabinet and some glass bead media. We're gonna clean up around here because that can get fairly messy even with the blasting cabinet. I don't want my flatbed knitting machine in the same room anymore, so it's gonna go upstairs to the actual craft space now. And I'm gonna, again, clean up, get the blasting cabinet out, get it hooked up and set up, and we're gonna see what we can do about this paint. I am gonna conclude the video here though, just because we're getting into a new subject matter and I don't want it to run too long. So once again, thank you so much for your time and joining me here at Levi Makes and joining me on this journey. If you have any comments about the process thus far or what I could do differently, by all means, throw them down in the comments section. Otherwise, we'll see you on the next video.